Well, there are those moments that tell you you're in or you're out, and then there are those moments that tell you it's over. Right? You want to do the tipping point, or really it's the point of no return. This is an interesting aside. And it's, you want to make it a humble brag, whatever. Darius Rucker's a good friend of mine. He has a song that didn't hit. Okay, it didn't hit. It's a country song, right? He's got the Hootie stuff. He actually had an R&B album that's really, really good, and then he went country. And I think it was like his second country album. He had a song called "I Got Nothing," right? And it's basically like a guy sitting there, and you want to like everything in what you're supposed to do as a man is fight for a relationship and beg and plead and try and find a way to make it work. And he's just like, I got nothing. No magic words. I got nothing. And I think that's where we are with the Ravens and Lamar Jackson. And what's happened is we're going to use, and I put myself in the media, we're going to use all these things that the Ravens have said against the Ravens, right? We want him to be a Raven. We want him to be, we think we build around Lamar Jackson. He is our franchise cornerstone. He is, like, look, their whole offense was him. Their whole creation of their offense was him, right? Like the whole thing worked together. Why'd they go get so many tight ends? Well, you got a quarterback who isn't particularly accurate. So you get guys guys that can be hybrid players. They can block a little bit and they can catch. Because when you run an offense with a run-pass threat at quarterback, inarguably the greatest run-pass threat in the history of the sport, you're going to build the whole thing around him. And there's lots of nonsense argument. Well, the Ravens haven't drafted. Bull. They've drafted during his time as a starting quarterback over the last 4 years. They've drafted 2 wide receivers in the first round. Okay. They drafted J.K. Dobbins, who's an incredible pass-catching running back. Another wide receiver in the third round. You're like, well, why didn't they go out and... First of all, signing these big dollar wide receivers as free agents is really hard. They don't always hit. And oh yeah, by the way, here's a little thing. They don't want to play with a guy who runs a bunch and is inaccurate. You guys remember Eddie Royal? Remember Eddie Royal? Okay, Eddie Royal had a pretty good year with the Tim Tebow Broncos. Okay? And as a free agent, he signed with the Chargers. And I remember talking to Eddie Royal one time, and he was like, dude, and granted, okay, please don't take this and go, oh, you're saying Lamar Jackson is Tebow. No, the problem is when a quarterback runs the ball that much, there's just a limitation in terms of how the volume of throws and the ability to have yak. And I mean, like, look, he was boys with Hollywood Brown. Like, they are lifelong friends. And I know Hollywood Brown's not great. I'm not going to sit here. But from Hollywood Brown's perspective, who was their number one talent and their number one wide receiver and a first-round draft pick, like, he was like, man, I got to go somewhere where I have a better thrower. So it's hard to sign a free agent wide receiver. And they've done their best. You're like, well, they haven't supported him. Like, that's not true. They re-signed Ronnie Stanley, the left tackle who's been hurt, to the biggest contract in the history of the sport at the time. Mark Andrews, their great pass-catching tight end, he made more money than anybody in the sport. They got him tight ends, they got him running backs, they got him wide receiver. They built an offense around him, and they're really good. And then there was they don't want to pay him. Like, no, even Lamar tweeted out that he was offered guaranteed 3 for $133. Go and look it up. Okay. Somebody do the math here. 3 for $133. Okay, 3 into 13 is 4. Carry the 1. Then it's 13. 3 into 13 again is 4. That's $44 million on average and change, right? Hey, that falls right in line with Josh Allen and all the other guys. Now, it was a 5-year deal. The first 3 years are guaranteed. Like every other quarterback not named Deshaun Watson. We got to this point where he had an elite level defense. 2 years ago, they had massive injuries. right? And they offered him a big-time contract, and he has been steadfast in, I want more guaranteed money than Deshaun Watson. And I totally understand if you parachuted in or you were in a coma for like 10 years and you said, all right, who's the highest paid quarterback? Who's got the most guaranteed money? Deshaun Watson. Well, Lamar Jackson's up. He's got no off-the-field baggage. He has 0 ACL injuries. Deshaun's had 2, right? He's been an MVP. Deshaun hasn't been one. Same number of playoff wins, essentially, right? He should get $1 more in guarantee. That's how it's always worked. The problem with that argument is we just talked about Bryce Young being an outlier quarterback. Deshaun Watson's contract is an outlier quarterback contract. Every other quarterback contract looks, Kyler Murray, even Aaron Rodgers' contract, which is obscene amount of money, is basically a front-loaded 2-year deal. No one has more than 3 years truly, fully guaranteed. And there's a way to bridge that gap. Make it, previously make it look like it's a 5-year deal, even though it's a 3-year guaranteed. Listen to GMs talk, and they'll tell you, had he had an agent, this thing would have been done a long time ago. But for whatever reason, he's sitting there going, no, no, no. And here's the easiest analogy I can use because it's a real thing right now in the housing market. 1 year ago, I guarantee wherever you live, definitely where I live, houses were going for obscene amounts of money. Obscene amounts of money. A house that should be $500,000 was selling for $750,000 because interest rates were so low and inventory was so low. Things were just move. Okay. And now inventory is super low and you can't get that value. You just can't. And Lamar Jackson's the guy who's sitting on a house that's like, man, my house is just the same, if not better than that guy's house. And his sold for $750,000 and I want $760,000. That's what he wants. And they're like, oh, dude, the market won't bear that. Nobody's getting that. Nobody's ever gotten $750,000 for that house. Nobody's ever gotten $750,000 except for that one house. Right? You know how it is. Guy comes in from out of town, brings his wife. Wife finds a house, loves it. Like, this is the house I want. And they're like, wasn't even on the market, right? How about $750,000 for it? Done. Sold. Like, they didn't even have a place to live. They were just like, wait, you're going to give me how much? Take it. Whatever you want. We'll leave the furniture. We'll leave the kids. We don't care. Take it. And Lamar has, again, normally you do comps. The problem with comps is not just one house. Comps is 5 houses. So if you take out Deshaun Watson's, you look at the rest of the contracts, like, ooh, doesn't really make sense. So we've pushed further and further, and I think yesterday was the point of no return. Okay? This was Ravens general manager Eric DeCosta when he was asked if they would draft a quarterback in the first round of the upcoming draft.
It depends on the board. It really does. I mean, I'd have to say yes because we have quarterbacks in our top 31. So just based on that alone, simple math, I would have to say yes.
Come on, man. Like the Aaron Rodgers thing, okay? The Aaron Rodgers thing, very simply, made sense to me at the time because context matters. Okay? Remember, Aaron Rodgers was non-committal about how long he wanted to play. He was coming off a season which, with a new head coach, Matt LaFleur, there were all these comments about not really enjoying the system. Body language, much like this year, was bad, and he didn't perform great. I thought he still had his fastball in him, and turns out he won 2 MVPs, and he proved everybody wrong. But the point was, at the time, and oh yeah, by the way, Jordan Love was a developmental pick. He was a guy who started 2 years in college, had 1 good year in college, and the thought was, in 2 or 3 years, maybe he'll be something. And they're mortgaging everything, betting that he is that guy. But you think about it, at the time, what did that do to their relationship? It destroyed it. Destroyed it. You have Lamar Jackson who, 25, 26 years old? Like, anybody would say in his prime. And look, I can point out the realities to, like, the reality is you don't know if he's going to play or not going to play. The reality is, hey, dude, you can get value at that point in the draft, right? Because the Ravens are never going to be in the top 10. That was the whole Packers thing. Like, we're never going to be able to draft a good quarterback because we're always going to be relatively good. But admitting out loud, hey, man, it's the draft board. It's a draft board. It is over. It's over. Right? Now, you can still wear the rings. You can still be in the same house. You can still... it's over. Call the attorneys. Figure out how to split it up. Okay? And I, again, it's like the real estate agent. Like, you can sit there and basically the Ravens are sitting there going like, we can sell your house. I swear we can sell your house. We just can't sell it for $750 or $760. We just can't. And I know social media is like, yes, you can. No, you can't. You can't. I mean, reality is he's missed 11 games the past 2 years. And he's missed 11 games in the most important part of the season. If we take him for his word, and I will, that he wasn't healthy, that actually doesn't help his case. Right? Dudes aren't going to hit you less. You aren't going to be injured less in the next 5 years when you're in your late 20s as you were your early 20s. He is the best running quarterback of all time. And all running quarterbacks have a shortened career. You know, forget about the whole league doesn't want. Why would the league do a bad business deal again? You don't have to somehow like call each other and go, hey guys, let's just keep these contracts down. Like, no. Go look at the quarterbacks who have played the most consecutive games at the position. Tell me what they all have in common. Go on, look them up. Look them up. Like, Phillip Rivers is, I believe, second to Aaron Rodgers. Phillip Rivers he is a bad athlete. He raced a pregnant woman and came in third. I'll let you figure out that joke in a second. Okay, Phillip Rivers. Eli Manning, Peyton Manning, pocket quarterbacks. Because we can't protect you when you're out of the pocket. There's just no way. We can't do a force field around you. They'd love to. Okay? I mean, Cam Newton, biggest human being I've ever seen play the quarterback position. If you've ever walked up on Cam Newton, you're like, that dude is... And what happened? He took a savage beating. And I understand Lamar doesn't take those kind of hits. But all of these running quarterbacks are the same. And you factor in, like, he hadn't exactly been accurate the past 2 years. He wants a contract that's a one outlier contract. Like, we were sitting there, you're the real estate agent, you're screaming like, just please, I swear, we can sell your house for $650. You just got to come off of the $760 number because your neighbor sold the house when rates were 2%. They're like 6.5%, 7% now. Nobody's buying that. It's just not happening. He's like, nope, that's what I want. So you got to move on. He ain't playing for $32 million. I would, but he ain't doing that. Because right now, Lamar Jackson feels personally disrespected. Like, bro, you're going to not even exclusive tag me? The tipping point, the moment or point of no return was yesterday when Eric DaCosta said, hey, yes, if our board aligns with the player that's available, we will take a quarterback in the first round. It is over.